Everybody, happy New Year's. Welcome to Real Life Reviews. This is Kevin and E again. We're the real guys. What's
Going
going on,
on?
everybody?
Going on? Happy New Year, everybody.
Man. Yo, starting off the new year fresh with a somewhat kind of fresh movie that ended out the last year of 2023. We
Yeah,
felt like it needed a review. You actually saw this one before I did, and you told me, Kev, you got to go see it. And I was like, okay, bet.
yeah.
So, E, what we're reviewing today, man?
Today we are reviewing the Iron Claw. Um, if there's any wrestling fans out there, you guys, I'm sure, are very familiar with the Von Erich family. But wrestling family, really, there's five brothers, but really only four were shown in the movie. As main characters. Um,
Well, the fifth one was showed at the end.
yeah. Um, but the main guys that we had was, of course, Kevin Von Erich, played by Zac Efron, who did an amazing job.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure, bro. I was like super impressed, man.
yeah, he's been doing some good work. Not to get off subject, but I even thought about how he did Ed Bundy, in that little
Yeah,
Macy.
that's right.
But yeah, he's definitely showing his acting chops. But also we have the brother Kerry Von Erich, played by Jeremy Allen. We have David Von Erich, played by Harris Dickinson, and we have Mike Von Erich, played by Stanley Simons. Um,
Yep.
yeah, pretty good cast. They look pretty identical to the real life brothers, so I thought that was pretty good.
I agree, man. So, if you're not aware of this movie, it's based on a real family. They are known to be the greatest wrestling family to ever live. The Von Erichs. They're started with their father, Fitz Von Erich, who
Mhm.
was a legendary wrestler during the wrestling circuits. Then moved on to his four sons, who also took on the mantle of wrestling. Fitz Von Erich was known for a signature move called the Iron Claw.
Yeah,
And so was one of his sons. I can't remember which one it was that did it. Most of his sons did the Iron Claw as well.
yeah,
Um, Again, very solid movie. Based on a true story. Some it's tragedy for real. Some
oh,
tragic stuff in this movie. If you know anything about the Von Erich family, there is some tragedy behind it. I kind of googled this about this film a couple years ago when I was watching a documentary on WWE, and they
mhm.
brought up Kevin Von Erich and his brothers and stuff like that. So I've kind of knew a little bit about the family prior to the movie
Yeah,
myself, but what I gotta say, man, is Zac Efron put on like the best performance I've ever seen him do. Like every piece of this movie, you felt like he was Kevin Von Erich. I've never seen much interviews with the guy, but I
yeah,
felt like he embodied the role to the point to where like you rooted for him, you wanted to cry with him when tragedy struck. But hey, man, go ahead with the summary, man. Give them the quick summary real quick.
yeah.
The
So
synopsis.
real quick synopsis. Again, it's about the Von Erich family. It starts off with Kevin Von Erich actually, and he is wrestling another opponent, and his dad is worried, about the state of the wrestling federation that he owns, and he wants to get his brothers more involved, in the whole Von Erich dynasty. So he has his other brother David, who also wrestles with him, and then I'm jumping ahead, but his brother Kerry comes back, I believe from active duty. I think he was in the military.
No, he was that. He was actually doing the USA. He was up to do the disc throwing for the Olympics that year,
Yeah.
and due to the time, I think that was President Jimmy Carter. He pulled us out of the Olympics that year because it was in Moscow,
Okay.
and which is another tragedy. He wouldn't have done. He wouldn't have been a wrestler. Had this had not happened.
Yeah. But that's it basically. It starts off with them, doing some matches, and their dad, is trying to get back like that old glory, basically that he had, in his wrestling days. Trying to pass it on to his sons. Um, you even see in the trailer, if you've watched it, he's kind of giving the order of, his favorite sons. He was saying that Carrie, the son who came back, to the family farm, he was his favorite. Then it was Kevin, then it was David, then it was Mike. So he kind of had like his tier rankings for his sons.
I thought Kevin was first. I thought Kevin was favorite and Carrie was second.
Now it was all Carrie. Kevin
Okay.
Kevin came in second, and I kind of feel like we'll get into it, but I feel like that kind of like fed into his disappointment, so to speak. Um, with his son, with both of his sons actually, with Carrie and with Kevin. Um, so yeah, we'll get more into it. But
Well, I think it's a little point to note too. Kevin was actually one of the smaller ones
yeah,
of his brothers.
yeah,
All his other brothers like well over 6 feet.
yeah,
Um, and some of them didn't like have the same. They painted in the movie that some of the others, like Kevin, didn't have the presence.
yeah,
Not really the presence, so to speak, but like I guess he didn't have the vernacular, like like David may have had for
yeah,
talking with the mic and being a character for wrestling. Where
yeah,
you know I feel like Kevin was the most devoted man, and then Kerry also had the same type of like he had the same type of bravado to him
mhm.
that carried over into the wrestling world, so to speak, where it was just
David was the showman.
yep,
Um,
he was definitely a showman.
Kevin was, I think, in I don't know if anybody would ever want to correct me, but it seemed like in the movie, Kevin was the most skilled. I want to
I
say,
agree. He looked very skilled and devoted to being a wrestler.
yeah,
And that's what he wanted to be. And he was more I felt like he was more focused on the performance
yeah,
versus being a personality or like a showman.
yeah,
When it came to it, he really developed the art, man. In fact, I think his two sons that are shown in the movie, they're also in a wrestling circuit themselves
yeah,
as a tag team duo. Um, you know, carrying on the Von Erich name, but
yeah. Carrie was. I felt like he was a good balance of the
both.
theatrics and the skill, but I feel like he had difficulty balancing it for his own personal reasons. Um,
Well, I mean, back in the '80s, I watched a lot of documentaries of WWE wrestlers. Man, there was a lot of cocaine, a lot of drugs, a lot of things happening, a lot of women.
yeah,
Uh, these guys are like freaking rock stars that come to a town. And a lot of stuff go down.
yeah,
And it seemed like Kerry got more addicted to that lifestyle more than David would have been, or even Kevin would have been. At least that's how it was portrayed in the TV in that TV show, the
yeah,
movie. That's at least how it was portrayed in the movie. Uh,
yeah,
bottom line, guys, ladies and girls, boys and them, days and them. Um, the sad part about it is you just start seeing the brothers, like the strong brother unit, and you start seeing them die one by one. Uh, the first son to die, supposed was not supposed. The first son that passed away was, I think it was Jake Jr. or
yeah,
Jack Jr.
yeah,
He was the oldest. Kevin's was the second oldest. And then you just start seeing the other brothers pass away, like from mysterious things. Like David passed away from on tour for Japan from a ruptured intestine.
yeah,
Carrie, then Mike passes away due to suicide. Then Carrie, suicide, and the last one left is it's Kevin.
yeah,
And if you watch the movie, man, the first thing he starts dating is his wife Pam, and he's the first thing he says to her, he's all he wants is to be a wrestling champion and live on a farm with his brothers.
yeah,
I was like, wow,
yeah,
like such a passionate person, such a person who just like he felt better, and you can tell like he felt his role was better with his brothers. Like, yeah, David was a showman. David could rally the crowd, but like he felt more in sync in stage in the ring with his brothers.
Yeah.
It was just a sad part of that movie to see him go through so much pain, and his father being kind of like aloof, like not.
Well,
What would you say, bro?
I would say I would say mom was more
Aloof?
aloof. I feel like dad was, you know, too hard on him. That's definitely something that they hit at, in the beginning. But just to backtrack a little bit, Kevin, um, he wrestles with his brother against Bruiser Body and Gino Hernandez.
Yeah,
Um, and then, that's when Kevin, after the match, he meets his, future wife, Pam. Um, and then Kevin fights Harley Race to kind of like put himself in the lead for the championship contender. But then he gets
yeah.
beat, and then then Kerry comes back, and then they all like tag team together, and then they
Well,
do the
he
name
didn't
back.
get beat. He got this. Was it? He didn't get beat. He won. Didn't he win? I thought he
Like,
won that match, but
I
they
guess it,
wouldn't give him the title match because right after that, Ric Flair beat him.
talking about against Harley Race.
Yeah,
Let me check.
because that's when he fell off the ring. He got thrown the ring and hit his back hard, right?
Yeah, he was beaten.
Yeah,
Um,
but he won. He won.
by a very slim margin. He almost didn't win. Um, Geez, I'm making sure I got the notes correct. Um, yeah, he did win.
But the bottom line, bro, like the whole thing is like he was thrown out the ring. He actually hurt himself, and his dad was more concerned about him getting up to
Yeah,
keep wrestling.
yeah,
I'm like, what? And the one thing I will say, I feel like their father raised them the best way he knew how,
mhm,
and it wasn't right. Like literally at the end of the movie, closer to the end, when Carrie had committed suicide in the movie, the father said, "Your brother called you, not me.
yeah,
Um, you are supposed to you didn't help him."
yeah,
And like everybody kept saying, "Well, you boys work it out between yourselves." Like,
yeah,
what parent is going to tell their children? I'm not saying what parent. Obviously, these parents did. This is true. I'm not sure if this is true on the part because again, the guys, this is inspired by true events. Sorry, this was inspired by true events. So we don't know what was accurate, what was true, and what was dramatized for cinema.
yeah,
So I don't want to speak negatively on a family that actually exists. But I will say the dramatization of the father and the mother
yeah,
make you think like who would tell their kids that are still growing,
yeah.
uh, that haven't really matured all the way, or just trying to battle through adulthood
Yeah.
and say, uh, you should work it out between yourselves. Like real life shit. You gotta work it out between yourselves. That is mind blowing.
You see, it seems like dad again. Was his priority was just wrestling. And that had a lot to do, preserving the family name, the family legacy. So he was, I don't want to say had his head in the clouds, but he was more focused or distracted by, like, living vicariously, I guess you could say, through his sons. And then you hinted at, his mom, when she made the comment, because Kevin had gone to her and was like, hey, like, mom, like, you gotta tell Pop to ease up on Mike. Because Mike, had nothing, didn't want anything to do with wrestling. He wanted to be a musician. He was talented. And he's like, hey,
Yeah,
like, tell dad to, or Pop to ease up on Mike. And she was like he said, work it out between yourselves. And that's like, like, that's what you're here for. And I kind of feel
yeah,
like, I kind of feel like because they were four brothers, they felt like, oh, like you guys can take care of yourselves, but they still needed that, that support, that love, but they didn't know how to show it. And again, like you said, we don't know if that's true or not, but to see that on screen was like, like your son is coming to you in a time of need, like he needs you to be vulnerable. He's being
yeah.
vulnerable, and he gets shut down. And
And
then,
that's what I'm saying. Like we don't know this over dramatization of the mom too. Like maybe the mom was pushing back with the dad, like, hey,
yeah,
like ease up,
yeah,
ease up. And don't forget, women at the time and those time in that area, in that era, like especially women, that having kids in the 50s and stuff like that. They
Yeah.
didn't always have a lot to say, like it's different era, different time. So
Yeah.
we don't really know what really was going down, but man, it was just like almost like heart wrenching
Yeah.
to see each brother pass away. Starting with David and then going on to Mike, and like Mike was such a great artist. It seemed like he could have been someone who was doing more so in music. And then when you hear that the father played music and he was like, "Oh, I feel like there was no money in music." You were classically trained, man. You could have been playing in New York at the orchestra or something like that.
Yeah.
You chose wrestling. And I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of wrestlers didn't make a lot of money, from my
Yeah.
understanding, especially during that time, unless you owned your own circuit. It's like he owned his own circuit, and then like you
Mhm.
saw like you know Zac Efron's character, Zac Efron's interpretation of Kevin in the movie. He's like, yo, he's like, I looked over the books. I didn't make nearly as much as it said that I made.
So you got to wonder where it
Like,
was going.
yeah, where was it going? And then the dad was like, you think this was cheap, this house, everything like that. So obviously his dad was taking some of the money, putting it in the house
Yeah.
or putting it somewhere else. So like he had to sell.
Yeah.
He had to provide for his family, and his dad was like, "If you sell this, don't walk through this door again." Like, wait, what? You
Yeah.
telling me not to provide for my family, provide a home for my sons and my wife, and you're telling me to not sell when we're failing?
Yeah.
And
So, so
wow,
let's just and this is going to be sad, a little depressing, but just run through like the tragedy that they, experience. Again, we don't know how the first, you know, son, the eldest son, Jack Jr. died. I don't remember them talking about that, but um, David, you had hinted at, he has, I think, like a bowel obstruction, and
yeah, it was like according to Wikipedia, it was a ruptured intestine.
yeah,
Um, and then but there's other things that say there may have been other things. People, I was reading Wikipedia that both Fitz and Kevin believed it might have been a heart attack.
mm,
But who knows? He was in Japan when he died.
yeah, and then Carrie, he again, caught up with drugs and partying and the women and stuff like that. Goes out for a bike ride and was his left or his right foot like right below the shin or like above the
Yeah, I
shin.
think it was his right foot.
Okay,
He lost that in the car accident. I mean, the motorcycle accident.
yeah, and then
And
Mike,
that was like the same. It was like the same night he won. It depicted it. It was the same night he won the championship belt that his dad so desperately wanted to be in the family, and it was supposed to change everything for the family, right?
yeah,
And you almost felt like looking at Kerry at the table after winning the championship belt. He just looked empty, and like the feeling he expected to get, he didn't get. The feeling of accomplishment he
yeah,
felt like he was going to get. You could just tell he didn't have it,
yeah,
and I think that's probably why he, in the way it was shown in the movie, is why he
hmm,
got around the motorcycle wheel after drinking and just like speeding.
yeah. And then Mike, he again, didn't really have the knack for wrestling, and again, like he's
Right.
more focused on the music and the artistic side. Um, he had a match, and I believe he messes up his shoulder.
Yep. Needed a surgery on his right shoulder.
Yeah, it goes into toxic shock or it goes into an induced coma from toxic shock, which I'm wondering, like, did he have, like, was it like marrow poisoning or something like that in his blood, or like,
I don't really know. It just looked like he wasn't the same after the surgery.
yeah,
Um, it just seemed like he wasn't there anymore.
yeah,
He wasn't bright like he was. It just seemed like that's what they depicted in the movie. And then
I,
like even Kev was like in the movie, Kevin was like telling his dad like he shouldn't have been in the ring in the first place. Like he shouldn't have been in the ring. And I
yeah,
did read up on the family previously that they were saying that he was of course the slimmer of the brothers. He didn't train as much as the brothers.
hmm,
So like was he really like, these guys got muscles. Like these guys are bulky dudes. Like, that fall
Hmm.
would have been different, with Kevin or
Yeah,
his other brothers versus with Mike.
yeah. My I saw it with my wife, and she was saying, with the damage that was done, his temperature, I think they said it was 107 for like
Yeah,
a couple hours. She was saying like, yeah, like his brain was frying like that whole time, and that's why he had those symptoms where he had like the delayed speech and processing. But yeah, man, it was crazy, and I felt bad. I didn't. I was telling somebody else, you know, who I'd asked if they'd seen the movie. I was like, I wasn't sure if I should clap or cry or both, because like this was amazing, but at the same time, it was very sad, very tragic. Um, yeah, it was an amazing movie, and I feel bad because at the end you saw, you know, when Kevin was, with his kids, he was, breaking down in tears, and they came and sat on his lap, and he's giving them a kiss and a hug, and he was saying, I was just thinking, like, I
I
used
used
to
to
be
be a
a brother,
brother.
and
Man,
man, that
woo,
when he said that line, like I was like, wow.
wow,
I was the
wow.
protector, and he was trying to protect everybody, and
He
he kind of
was, man. He really was. Like, and he just didn't have the support to do. He was telling Carrie, he was like, "I'll come get you." When he's about suicide, he was like, "I'll come get you.
yeah,
Where are you at?" He called his dad. He was like, "Yo, keep an eye on Carrie.
yeah,
Something ain't right." Carrie, the same gun he bought his dad for Christmas, he pulls trigger, and shoots himself.
yeah,
And then like to see Kevin carry his brother in his arms, dead, and
yeah.
lay him on the dining room table. Oh man.
When he,
Woo.
man,
If you look at the order, if you look at the like right now, if you look at this picture right here, you look at the order, it almost shows you exactly how each brother passes away.
yeah,
You see on the left, David.
hmm,
Then you see Mike. You skip over the happy couple, and then you pass on to the Carrie.
yeah,
Like wow. And now the only two left are
yeah,
Kevin and Pam and his wife, and it did it on a better note, a somber note, because it kind of showed you, gave you the hint of the note that Carrie left. He says he's gonna be with his brothers, and like as Kevin's crying at the dining room table, you see the afterlife, and you see Carrie on a boat, and he's just on creek, and he's seeing his brothers,
yeah,
and he meets his older brother Jack for the first time, and like
yeah,
like okay, that they're all four of them together, you know, in the afterlife, and then you see at the end of the movie, it shows you in the end credits that uh Kevin and his wife did buy that farm,
yeah.
and all of their kids and their grandchildren are with them on that farm. So like that's a beautiful part to know that. But man,
Yo, we forgot about his match with Ric Flair. We forgot about that one.
oh yeah, 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 he lost it, bro.
Man,
Yo, but that was like he lost his brother during this time. Like
yeah,
David, his dad passed over him for Carrie,
hmm,
and like everybody's like, "What's wrong?" It was legitimately rage.
but I got like I was hyped when I saw it, because I felt like, okay, like he's not knowing the story, but I thought, like, he's gonna redeem himself. Like, dude, when I tell you, like, I got hyped, like seeing him like in the ring, like practicing doing the push-ups, and he did like some acrobatic move. I'm like, okay, like he's got it. And then they have the match, and he's winning, and then, like you said, like he basically snaps, gets disqualified. Um, yeah, man, just lost it. And then again at the end, um, lost it with his dad. And I had to think, like, yo, like I've never been that upset with my dad, where I felt like, can't even think about like getting that upset with my dad, where like I would ever put hands on him. Like this man,
Oh, when he was choking his dad out when his brother died.
yeah, like he was trying to choke his dad out. Like, yo, like,
Yeah, man.
mm,
Yeah, that was like again, man. This was Zac Efron's like one of my favorite performances was Zac Efron. Straight up, man. Like,
yeah,
yeah, this ain't Troy. Was it Troy Bolton? Is that his name and I think his name was Troy Bolton. And in High School Musical, this is not him. This is
yeah,
not Troy Bolton. This is like Zac Efron being the best I've ever seen him act, man. Like, I mean, you felt every emotion, every
yeah.
scene. He carried it. I mean, the casting was perfect in my mind. I feel like everybody played the role exceptionally well. But Zac Efron, man, I'm kind of hoping they kind of like, give him a nominee or something. Maybe I'm not gonna see Oscar, but like, give him some love on something because he definitely killed this role.
I would say Oscar worthy. If not, definitely Golden Globe worthy.
Yeah,
People's Choice.
something.
MTV definitely. So yeah, like he knocked this one out the park. Best performance I've ever seen. So yeah.
I, I agree, man. I also feel like it's a disservice because the movie came out around Christmas time, bro. And like we had lots of good movies came out at the end of the month. Like Ferrari, I heard was pretty good.
I heard it was whack.
Uh, huh?
I heard Ferrari was whack.
You heard it was black? Never mind. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So Ferrari came out, which was like highly anticipated. Rebel Moon, which we crushed last week.
Yeah.
Aquaman came out, which is bombing in the box office right now. So I'm not sure how well Iron Claw is doing. The Iron Claw is doing, but it's definitely worth the watch. I will say that. But let's see what the critics are saying about this movie, bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Well, seems to be doing well. Internet Movie Database gave it a 8.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 89%, which I feel is very befitting.
Right.
Fandango gave it a 93%, and IGN, I don't even want to say, gave it a 5 out of 10, which I feel is pretty ridiculous.
I think they're tripping, bro. I don't know what they expected for this movie for it to be a 5 out of 10.
Yeah,
For this movie, clearly we didn't watch the same movie. I'll just say that because
yeah,
nothing in this movie says it should be a 5 out of 10.
nah,
Nothing,
at least an
nothing.
8. At least an 8.
Yeah, at least an 8, man. At least an 8. And if you want to even be 7.9, I'll give you that. But like, it's not a, it's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tearjerker for real. Man, I ain't cried since Mufasa died, bro. And
Oh,
like I was in there tearing up, bro. You know what I'm saying? I ain't cried at a movie since Mufasa. Now this is the first one I've seen. I'm like, oh man, bro. Like I guess because I'm a brother,
mm-hmm.
uh, and I'm a father, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
wow. And then like you see like Zac Efron's character, his portrayal of Kevin. He's like, he's running from his family, and he doesn't want to put on the curse upon him because he thinks his family's cursed, and he's like, I don't
yeah,
want them to catch it. I can't let them catch it. I'm like, wow, wow, like this psychological trauma he's dealing with 'cause especially after his brother David died, and then like Carrie gets accident, then Michael dies. It
mm-hmm.
just goes on, and he deals with the fact that his older brother passed away when he was younger, and his wife at the time said, "How'd you handle that?" He said, "Well, one day I looked up and I found out Jack James wasn't able to play. That was it."
Yeah.
So yeah, but you know what it is, everybody. It's my favorite
Mhm.
time of every episode. It is time for the real guys rate. Let's see what we got to say about this movie. All right, E, as always, you are up first.
All right, so for pacing, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, and honestly, I probably could have gave it a 9. Um, but I feel like 8.5 is good enough. I didn't lose track of the story. I wasn't lost. I know there's a whole lot more to the story. I'm pretty confident in that. But they took what they could from you know the actual like true life events, and I think they did a pretty good job of pacing everything out. So 8.5 out of 10. Cast, I give it a 9 out of 10. I'm not too familiar with majority of the cast, but Zac Efron being the lead, of course, did an amazing job. I feel like they had really good synergy. between all of them. And, the brothers, the Von Erich brothers, I think they did a good job in their roles. Definitely looking forward to see more from them. Cinematography was amazing, 9 out of 10. The lighting, the angles, all of that was pretty good. Storyline, again, 9 out of 10. And overall, gave it an 8.9 out of 10. I mean, I can round it up to a 9. So, yeah,
Great. Solid movie. Okay, for me, guys, I'm gonna be straight up. I gave it all nines on everything, right? From pacing to cast, the
yeah,
cinematography, the storyline. My overall is a 9 out of 10, obviously, because I love this movie. I thought it was great. I thought the pacing was great. I thought the cast was great. I thought the cinematography was great, especially in the beginning of the movie where it's in black and white. You feel like you're in the 50s, 60s, it's black and white, then it switches over to color, and it kind of gives you that lens of the 80s. You feel like you're watching an 80s movie, and it kind of
hmm
just continues to move on. Uh, the storyline, of course, very like a lot of good nuggets in there. Like for instance, you didn't see David die. You didn't see Mike die. You only saw Carrie die. And because it's specifically from the perspective of Kevin. And like, wow.
yeah,
Like and that was like it seemed like the most impactful for him because like he was the last brother he had and he was trying his hardest to keep him here. And it was like, wow. So
yeah,
again, for me, 9 out of 10. I really, really, even though it's a tearjerker, I really enjoyed the movie. It made me give me a more of a deep dive in this family, and it makes you almost analyze and appreciate your own siblings, your own family dynamic, in your own way, seeing it from this perspective, right?
yeah.
All right. So, I got a question for you.
So,
Would you recommend this movie?
most definitely,
I would
most
recommend the movie
definitely.
as well. As always, I would recommend this movie. This movie was awesome. This was definitely. I appreciate you, E, for letting me say I gotta watch this movie. So we got some more coming your way. Uh,
Mhm.
we'll figure out next week. But as always, please like and subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube.
Facebook.
We are on that. We're also on Spotify. So follow us if you can, if you will, please do. We'd like to hear from you. Give us some comments. Tell us what you thought about the movie as well. We definitely want to hear from you. Enjoy while you're here.
That's right, people. Peace out.
Peace out, y'all. Take it easy. We'll see you guys soon. This is Kev. That's my boy E. And we're the real guys.